What we're going to do is bring Jason up, and we want him to talk. And we're excited about it. You know, everybody, excited. So I think Jason has a very inspirational story, and I think it's really relatable for a lot of people. And yeah, we're excited. So I want to hear your story. Not just us, but him too. So.
And we'll let you speak in spite of the shirt, but it's okay.
In spite of the shirt.
So Jason's a funny guy. Like he'll come on the live. He's like, he goes, Rick, man, I think I can't take it this week. It's like crazy. These 3 deals fall apart. You'll do both. And what do I tell you every time? I go, just keep doing it. Like that's the norm. What you guys don't understand is when you fail and it sucks and it struggles, you have to keep going. The bad ones just stop. And they think they're going to buy a course and it's going to solve it. 9 times out of 10 when you buy a course, your problem just started. Because I used to buy a course and go, all my problems are solved, right? Something wildly felt good about paying someone 5 or 10 grand. I go, and I magically thought they were going to do the work for me and all my problems would be solved. And I found out, like, yeah, you got to do the work. So if you do it for free or you paid 50 grand, you still have to do the work. So he's done the work. He's well on his way on his journey. So he's going to tell a little about like where he came from and where he's at now. So go ahead.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, before I do any of that, I really got to do 2 things. And that's one, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank Rick and Zach for everything that they've done. That's number one. They've in a great way changed my entire family trajectory, and they actually helped me replant a family tree. So I never really heard of these guys being landscapers, but you might just be some landscapers. And the second thing I've really got to do is, I don't know if she's still in here, but Miss Ginn, if you are in here, is she in here? She'll be back. Oh, man. Okay, well, I'll have to kind of put that in later. All right, so I come from the poorest county in all of Ohio. The town that I lived in was the biggest town in my entire county, and I think we had a population of 400 people. We never locked the doors. We worked on farms. We baled hay. We did roofing. We did construction. We did concrete. Anything and everything you can think of as a hard job, that's what we did. My family didn't have money. I'm the first person in my entire family to graduate high school, which that was a crazy day, very crazy. So first person to graduate high school. After high school, I kind of found my wife, who lived 2.5 hours away from me in a much bigger city than I'm used to, and I was so uncomfortable. I hated it. I didn't know anybody. We locked the doors at night, something we never really did at home. So I was kind of like a turtle in a shell for a while, for a long while. Had 2 kids, and when I had my first son, I just lost my job with Georgia Pacific, which was a great job if you're from where I'm from. I mean, I got paid like $22 an hour, and I was really killing it, big time. Lost that job right before my son was born, a week before my son was born, actually. And I'm like, well, here we go. I'm going to be just like my parents. I live in an apartment, 600 square foot apartment, have a woman that I'm not yet married to, having a baby in a week, and I've got no job, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, am I going to go back home 2.5 hours away and work on a farm? I had no idea. So I actually stumbled into another job, which was a great job if you're from where I'm from. I mean, it was an awesome job. I had flexibility in my schedule. I had no boss over my shoulder. I was making $42,000 a year, and I was killing it. So I had interest rates on my cars were like 23% interest. I've never had credit. I mean, really bad. So with that job, I had health insurance, I had dental insurance, I had life insurance, and I had a steady paycheck. And I made more money than anybody in my family, so I'm killing it. I don't have a boss to report to. So I do have a boss to report to, but he lives in a different state, so it was pretty easy for me. What I didn't know at the time was that the work that it involved was actually killing me, quite seriously. For 10 years of doing it, it was an extremely physical job, because that's all I know is to just go and throw weight, like whether it be a hay bale or product on the shelf for a major retail company. I was throwing 60,000 pounds on the shelf manually, lifting it, carrying it, stocking it on the shelves every day. That's what I would do, 60,000 pounds a week. And I didn't think about it. I'm like, yeah, baled hay my whole life. I've worked out since 7th grade. Like, I've always been pretty physical, so this job's nothing. I can do this. And yeah, it turned out my days were numbered way before I realized it. Got home from work one day and sat on the couch and stood up from the couch and kicked in my recliner, hand-me-down couch, because I was killing it with $42,000 a year. And unfortunately, the metal brackets inside the couch were not greased anymore because the couch is 10 years old. So when I kicked it in, something caught in my back, and it balled up so hard I couldn't walk for 3 days. My kids had to help me. They had to help me get dressed for 3 days. And I'm like, dude, this, whatever I'm doing right now, I'm not killing it. I thought I was killing it. I thought $42,000 a year was killing it, but it looks like it's actually killing me. And my kids are homeschooled. They've always been homeschooled. I won't put them in public school. It's another thing about that job is I had the ability to let my wife stay home and homeschool the kids, and it was working out. So I thought. So it just happened to be like within a week or two of all of this. It's really crazy. Left work one day, and it was the same day that I actually did that to my back. I was leaving work, and I worked 2.5 hours away one direction, so ended up stumbling into this really goofy kid. And I'm like, man, this guy's talking about real estate, and he's got this really silly intro, and who is this guy? But the intro, I'm like, I don't understand this. I gotta watch this. So I watched it on my way home, and I'm like, man, this guy, he seems to know what he's talking about. Like, I've always figured real estate people is just kind of like conniving, bad. Like, the whole industry. Think about where I'm from. I'm from the middle of nowhere. I mean, people that buy real estate down there are really just trying to bend people over, to be honest. Like, it's never been a glaring opportunity. It's never been something that we're like, oh yeah, we love real estate investors around here. Like, it's always been it's kind of a nasty industry, in my opinion. Really bad opinion, turns out, but it was a really nasty industry. Watched Rick and Zach, got home, kicked that thing in the couch back, and when I did, that thing caught in my back, and my wife had to help me crawl to my bed, where I laid for 3 days. Got up after the 3rd day, went to the chiropractor, and it turns out I've got stage 2 degeneration of my lower spine. My spine is literally rubbing together every day that I'm doing this job. Going to the job and then going home and going to the gym, like I'm slowly starting to kill myself or put myself in a position where my kids are gonna have to take care of me well before they even need to think about that. And so when that happened, I was just like, man, something's gonna have to change. And I don't care what it is. And the whole 3 days that I laid in bed, I'm watching Rick and Zach's videos the whole time. If I'm awake, their videos are on. If I'm asleep, their videos are still playing, and I fell asleep, but they were on for 3 days straight. And I took their course, and this was all back in like late December, early January time frame. And I just immediately took action. I knew we had a performance review at my job. We did a Zoom call for my performance review. And my manager goes, hey man, we decided to do something really great for you this year. And my wife was on speaker, she heard it on the speaker. And he goes, we decided to give you a 3% increase. And I'm like, awesome, that's really great. He's like, yeah, so we took your salary to $48,520. Isn't that sweet? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like super, super cool, like awesome. I made like $2,000 more a year now. That's I'm killing it. But the wife knew right then and there that I was done because the response that I gave that guy, he knew very well that I was not happy or pleased or even interested in that. And she knew right then and there that I was done with the job. So I kind of closed my first deal, which ended up being a $10,000 assignment. Closed my second deal, which happened to be a $72,500 assignment. I called my title company at 10 o'clock that morning. It was supposed to close. And I'm like, when's this check hit? And they're like, it'll be there at noon. Looked at my bank account at noon. It wasn't there. Refreshed it at 12:05. It was there. I called my boss. I'm like, dude, where do you want me to drop this shit off at? Because I'm done. Right then and there, I quit. And I've never looked back. I've closed all alone this year, 15 deals on my own. I've got no team. Like I said, I'm a grinder. I work hard, and right now I know for a fact that I'm working harder than I should be. I know I could delegate, and I know I could be more efficient, and I know I could be more effective because I'm more efficient. But the problem is, guys like me, if I'm not doing it myself, I don't feel like it's getting done, and that's kind of where I grew up. I mean, working on a farm, baling hay for all those years, and concrete. Like, if I'm not putting my fist to the pavement, it ain't happening. So that's kind of where I'm at. I need to delegate. I need to hire people. I've hired 2 people. It's not worked out. Fired the first guy 3 days after I hired him. Terrible decision. Second lady, I really like her a lot. She's a great person, but I've got to get her to buy into the mission, which I'm really trying to do. Haven't done yet. Actually, Miss Ginn, I needed to talk to you. I needed to tell you that most people don't have the honor to have a hero in the house, but you've got 2. So whatever you're doing, you did it right, for sure. And I wanted to thank you. So I think that's pretty much all of my story. I don't know where the guys went. There they are. I think that's pretty much it for me. If you guys have questions, I'll answer questions.
The guy you hired at 5, what did you hire him to do?
I hired him to go reverse drive for dollars for me. I was paying him $20 an hour. It must be 20 sticky notes at minimum an hour, so it's $1 per sticky note essentially. And I told him, if you get 40 sticky notes in an hour, then I'll pay you $40, and I'll pay you 1% of every deal we close. And he, for those next 3 days, was like, well, I'll get out tomorrow. And then there's always just the excuse. And this was supposed to be his full-time job, and it just didn't correlate. And then that Friday came, and he's like, so are you going to pay me or not? And I'm like, you've done 6 sticky notes. Do you want $6? I mean, I'll pay you $6. And he got real mad. He's like, well, I can't live on $6. And I'm like, well, you're not doing anything. So, I mean, so I had to fire him 3 days after. Yes, sir. How do I what? How do I track my sticky notes? So I ordered a stamp. I usually wear a hoodie when I go reverse drive for dollars because I've got them all lined in my hoodie. I'll literally put up 300, 400 a day, and I will walk for 6 or 8 hours or 10 hours if the sun's not down yet. If it's a house that I feel very like there's a ton of motivation, I'll get on batch leads and I'll take a screenshot with my phone, and then when I get home at night or it's raining or snowing or there's some reason why I'm not out reverse driving for dollars, I'll get on batch leads and upload them all to my batch leads and then follow up with them about every 30 to 60 days. Like I said, I think we were talking yesterday, people's lives change. You got to remember, like, just because they tell you no today doesn't mean tomorrow when they get a flat tire, they take their car in for service and find out the engine's going out in it. Then they're like, man, there's a lot of stuff going on wrong with me right now. And then you call them and you're like, hey, you want to sell that house? Yeah, matter of fact, that would be great to sell this house. So you got to follow up with these people constantly. People die, get divorced, get married, have kids, lose kids. I mean, so many things happen all the time. So it's very important that just because somebody tells you no, you don't actually take that to heart. You continue to follow up no matter what. Yes, sir.
How are you finding your cash buyers?
So I got really lucky. We lived at an apartment complex, and there was this guy outside gardening. He kind of looked like Zach, actually. He had a polo, and I'm like, why are you gardening? Like, you're dressed pretty good out here. Why are you doing this? The guy goes, oh, this is just a part-time job for me, which I kind of figured. He kind of looked like maybe he's in like IT or something's up. Like, I know that he's doing something better than gardening at an apartment complex. So I start talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to go buy another house today. And he looks at me, he's like, you're going to buy a house? Yeah, I'm going to go buy another one. How many houses have you bought? Oh, like 6. He's like, oh, so you buy houses. Well, you ever heard of this guy? I'm like, I have no idea who he is. And truth be told, I tried skip tracing this guy before, and he had his LLC set up correctly so that when you try to skip trace him, he's a ghost. You can't find him. And just because I was talking to this gardening guy, he's like, well, he's a good friend of mine, and he buys houses all the time. Let me give you his number. He gave me his number, and we've been best friends ever since, and he's bought a lot of my deals. But I purposely pinpoint exactly what he tells me to look for. And if I do that, and I treat him as a customer, and I make sure I take care of him, he keeps coming back for me. So that's one of my buyers. I've used PropStream, cash sales. That works a lot. I also use Zillow. So if you go to Zillow and you type in Port St. Lucie, I look for houses that are on the market that look like they're fresh renovated. And then I'll actually find out who that property owner is before it even sells. And I'll skip trace them and call them. That works really well for me. That's something Rick and Zach haven't really talked about a whole lot. But that's a tactic that I use most of the time. So
Jason, this is your market?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
So what is your particular market?
Columbus, Ohio, and anywhere within an hour and a half of outside of Columbus, Ohio. Yes. Reverse drive for dollars. Yep, like I said, I'll go out with sticky notes packed in my hoodie, and I'll go out for 6, 8, 10 hours. I don't care. Zach and Rick are on. It's always my favorite day to go do it because I just listen to them. I mean, even though I've learned, I feel like I've learned substantially, I don't stop learning. And I've actually taught my father-in-law how to do this as well. I didn't. They did. He was like, hey, I want to do that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to teach you. Why not? Because I don't teach this. These guys do, and they're a hell of a lot better at it than I am. So, and it took me a while of talking to him and trying to get him to watch all of the videos and take the course, but he finally did. And this month, he himself has closed $19,000 in assignments, plus the $3,500 assignment we JV'd. So he's made $22,500 this month just by taking action. Yes.
So I have a question, Jason, because obviously you probably still get a lot of no's, right? Like you're
Oh,
doing
all the time.
follow-up.
Yeah.
So what kind of process or procedure do you use to keep up with all of that? Like, how do you know when to, go back and follow
So
up?
basically, if it's a house and I walk up to it and I'm like, okay, this looks run down. It looks like, the roof's got a tarp on it. The grass is 6 foot high. Like, there's definitely motivation with this house. I'll take a snapshot of it and put it in my batch leads. And I don't care if those people that I put in my batch leads tell me no 100 times. Eventually, they're going to want to sell it. I mean, because they don't obviously have the desire to fix up the issue. So it's only a matter of time and circumstance for them to tell you yes. I don't do it for every single person that tells me no. If it's a house and it's just, I don't know, the grass is a little bit higher than the neighbor's grass and they tell me no, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'll continue to go over those streets over, 3 or 6 months. I'll retrace my footsteps. And if it still looks like that, then I'll keep following up with them. Yes?
Last question, because I do that for time to time. But when it says like no soliciting or that like ring cam or something like that,
I don't care. I don't care. So listen, I was talking to somebody either earlier today or last night, and they're like, well, what do you do when you're nervous and you walk up to these, have you ever gotten yelled at? I get yelled at all the time. And the fact is, I just don't give a shit. Like, I'm more scared to fail than I am to do the work and get yelled at. Like, everybody in here's got to get to that point where over the past year, I've read way more books than I've read in my entire life. I don't read. I hate to read, actually. But I knew it's pivotal for me to change my mindset. Like, I know that's I've got to work on that. So I've been reading self-improvement, self-help books all year. I've read between 12 and 15. I believe it's closer to 15. But In one of those books, there's a guy, his name's actually Dean Graziosi, and I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he did a practice with me that sticks to me hard, and it brought me literally to tears, and that's the 7 levels deep of your why. If you don't know what that is, I would highly suggest that you look into that. You guys got to know what your why is, because this job, while it's simple in practice, it's not easy. Like, you know, there's a lot of work that has to be done here, and it doesn't come easy. And if you don't know what your why is, and you don't do the 7 levels deep to find your why, you're gonna burn yourself out. I know what my why is. My why is so that my kids never have to be hungry, so that my kids don't have their dad working 3 jobs like my dad did. I never saw my dad. Truth be told, from 7 to 10 years old, I actually got myself up at 5 o'clock every morning, made my own breakfast to walk 1.5 miles to school in the middle of a city, which was extremely dangerous, very shady neighborhood. Got on a school bus, made my own lunch, made my own dinner, did my own laundry from the time I was 7 to 10 years old. And my why is so my kids don't have to do that. My kids know I'm there for them. That's my why. And see, your why has to bring you to tears when you think about it, because that's the passion and desire that you need to actually be able to succeed in anything, much less something like this where you're self-driven, where you have to rely on you to get it done. And if you can't do that, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry, but if you can't rely on you and you don't know what your why is, it ain't going to happen. Yes?
So I just want to recap. So reverse driving for dollars actually made,
Yep.
marketing.
Yep. I don't cold call people. If there's a house and it's really, really bad, I will text them and I will try to call them. But if I'm out for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, I might find like 5 to 10 total properties that are like, all right, I'm gonna try and call this person. I don't sit around for 10, 12, 14 hours a day cold calling people, because it's just a waste of time. With the amount of incorrect phone numbers you're gonna have, you're just wasting your time. I mean, in my opinion, Zach likes cold calling and he's really damn good at it. But me, that's just not my forte. I gotta be working.
And then how do you pick your market in Ohio?
I personally like population sizes of 15,000 to 25,000. I don't go above that, and I try not to go below that, but I like those small populations.
Okay. Then also,
City.
you're driving for dollars, 8 hours a day, because I try and do driving for dollars and reverse driving for dollars. But I tend to find that I'm running out of neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, should I just go back to the same neighborhood?
Every 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
I do it all the time. Every 30 to 60, especially the ones I saved in my batch leads. Because the ones I saved there, I know have a ton of motivation, and you just got to find time and circumstance. So, yes.
So when you're reverse driving for dollars, I found that I have a lot of properties that are very scattered, and I spoke to Zach about this. I just want to know your specific approach to maybe optimize the route. Do you have one?
I don't. I just go. I park my car and I go. And sometimes I waste my time, but sometimes I make it rain. So it just depends.
What is very niche down to the type of properties you're spending your time driving to? It's not just a decent condition house. These are very rundown properties that you're spending that.
Maybe not very rundown, but yes, there's definitely some motivation. The window's broken, the gutters are hanging loose, the chimney's broken, the grass is high, there's a boat parked in the front yard that hasn't been, you know, that thing's not moved for like 5 years. The grass is all up around it. They don't always have to be complete rundowns. I actually try to stay away from ones that are complete rundowns, and just look for any little the best deal that I've done so far this year, in my opinion, was a reverse driving for dollars in a town that had a population of 1,500 to 2,000 people. It was a $35,000 assignment. And the reason why it was the best is because the house looked great. It was a nice house. There was no reason why I would put a sticky note on it, except when I walked by it, the front porch had a 5 gallon of paint. and it had some tools and stuff, like maybe somebody was doing some work on it, but I started to look at it, and there were cobwebs all over the paint and all over the brushes, and you know that at one point they were doing work on it, but now they're not. Why'd they stop? What's up with it? So I just put one on there, and he called me literally the next day, and $35,000 assignment. So it doesn't always have to be the worst property you've ever seen. And in fact, I try to stay away from those.
So Jason,
Corey. Yes.
you can go ahead if you'd like.
You go ahead.
I'm sure a big question among a lot of people in the area is, how does that conversation go whenever they call you back? What does that look like? And I'm sure that would be helpful.
For sticky notes on houses?
Yeah, because they, they're thinking, put the note on the door, but what happens next when they call? What do I say? What do you say to those people when they
Yeah, so basically, hey, I found this note on my house. Yeah, I was wanting to know, have you ever considered selling that property? I'm looking to buy property in the area and I just didn't know if you were looking to sell it. And they'll either tell me yes, they'll cuss me out, they'll tell me no, but
You've never had any problem with somebody saying, oh, I'm going to sue you, you came on my property, so that fear that you...
oh, I've had conversations, maybe not sue me, but they'll call the cops, and I'm like, yeah, sorry. I put like Zach tells us to do sometimes, one of the houses looked completely vacant, and I was very convinced that it was vacant, and I've tried to stip trace, I've tried to put a note on the door, never got anything from it, so I took a bandit sign and I put it right in the yard. And they called me within an hour, like 20, 30 minutes later, cussing me out, screaming at me, don't you ever, and I'm like, yeah, I told Jerry not to do that. I don't know why Jerry did that. I'm sorry. So, whatever it takes, man. I'm not scared to get cussed out. I've been turned down. I've also gotten really good deals. So, however they want to play it, I can play it. Yes. No. Burner app. Download the Burner app. It's like $10 a month. You get as many lines as you want, and anytime it texts you or calls you, it'll come straight to your phone. I use Google Voice on my laptop, but I hate it for my phone. It's just not a good operating.
On Google Voice, sometimes you'll get phone calls and you won't even hear them coming.
Yeah, that's why I hated it. I missed them all the time. And then when I miss them, I call back and say, hey, who's this? Because I don't know who it is. So, in Burner, they call me, I stip trace the number they call me, and then I actually save their property as their name in my Burner app, in my contacts. So, if they ever text me, they ever call me, I've got all these properties actually. Yes, yep. It's like $10 a month. Now, you asked the question.
Yeah, so you were saying that you reverse driving for dollars. What is the trigger for the reverse?
What do you mean?
Well, your reverse driving for dollars is that it's a targeted, that would usually mean that it's a targeted list.
No, not for me.
If you're just doing strictly driving for dollars, you're going in there.
I'm putting sticky notes on
There's
everything.
two types. We'll go over it after lunch for you. Two types.
I put sticky notes on everything. I've got a stamp, and sticky note pads are like 75 cents. So I'll stamp everything. I don't care.
I get a lot of questions, where are you getting your stamp from? Because I got one, but other people might want to know where you
I got mine on Etsy, and I can't remember the name of the seller. It was on Etsy, though. The one on Amazon's terrible. The one everybody was using from Amazon doesn't work very well.
My question earlier was, so you say your person you hired, he only did 6. How were you able to track he did 6, not 40?
So he's required to take a picture of every sticky note he puts up. So you put it up, you take a picture, you send it to me, and then you save the address to my batch lead. They have a login to my batch leads. So he saves it to my batch leads, he takes a picture of the note, and then I know that, okay, he's done 6. And then that way every Friday, if I've got 40 pictures of notes that you put up, it's $40. So that way I know I can keep track of it. Yes? I've never really run those kind of numbers, but I would tell you my callback rate on a note is like anywhere from 3 to 5%, I would think. And then it probably is around 250 to 300 notes, I think, is the deal. Yes?
Is all of your overhead sticky notes and gas?
Yeah, that's that and batch leads. That and batch leads, and then my CPA. So, yes, sir.
I want to add something to that. Driving for dollars or reverse driving for dollars. Whenever
Right? Yeah. I've thought about getting one of those hoverboards. Yeah. Get a hoverboard. My wife thought it'd be a really good visual if I grow my mullet out super, super long and wear some pit vipers with a hoverboard. I might go that route. Yes, sir.
Question, the burner versus the Google Voice. I've been using Google Voice for years. Why don't you like that?
I miss a lot of phone calls on my phone. Like, it'll ring my computer all the time, but
I only have it on my phone.
yeah.
For retail as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm not around my computer enough to be able to answer it. Like, if I'm out driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars, and I'm out for 8 hours, 10 hours, and I get 3 or 4 phone calls before I'm done, when I get back home to my laptop, it says I got 4 missed calls and I don't know who they are.
I don't want my phone. It works perfect for me, so that's why I was curious why you like it.
Yeah. Yeah, Burner's a really good app. I like it a lot. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to answer this, but do you know if you could use a burner number on like Moto dialer or batch dialer or something like that?
Yeah. Can you use a burner number on that? I don't know. I've never tried it.
You use call rail. Call rail? Yeah, because then you can just get a different number whenever you want. Just switch your numbers out.
Number he doesn't cold call.
$20 a month or something like that.
Yeah, I don't waste my time with that. Yes, sir.
I would kind of imagine that when you're doing these sticky notes, that a lot of those properties are going to be tenant occupied. How do you get to the
They are sometimes.
what does your note actually say? Does it say that you can get to the property owner? I mean, what's it?
Yeah, it just says, hey, would you consider a cash offer on this property? Please text or call me. And if they call me and say, hey, I just rent this, I'm like, okay, yeah, no worries. Can you get me the owner's phone number? I'd like to talk to him, and then I'll call the owner and talk to him. But I've not yet to buy a property like that. It's usually never a landlord that wants to sell for some reason. Anybody? Yes.
A couple questions. How many leads did you go through before in between your deals that you actually got?
Right now, around 600 probably sticky notes. But I've got 5 deals under contract right now, and I just got one that I assigned yesterday, and I've got like 3 more that probably assign within the next month. So pretty.
And in terms of like coming up with a number, do you feel like you're just sticking to like what these guys are saying for the percent, or how are you coming up with your numbers? Do you feel this is coming really easy to you?
For an offer?
Yeah.
So I don't make an offer until I go out to the property, but they tell me the condition of the property. I'm like, okay, awesome, sounds great. It sounds like there is some work that needs to be done on that property. I don't want to waste your time, and I really don't want to waste my time. Is there a number that you had in mind for this? And I make them give me the number. And if they don't give me the number, I'm like, okay, when you are serious about selling it, give me a call back. Let me know where you're at. I don't want to waste anybody's time here. And make sure that they're speaking the same language as you as far as the number goes before you even go to the appointment at all. And then it's really important that you make sure that they're ready to make a yes or a no decision before you go out there, because if not, you're going to waste your time every time. I've wasted so much time doing that. Yes, sir.
What's your schedule look like during the week? Is it just straight drop for dollars 6 days a week?
Yeah, it is. Like 4 days a week. And then the 5th day depends on if it's raining or not. If it's not raining, about 8 hours. And then the last day, the 5th day, I use it to follow up a lot. Yes?
Well, so when you're on foot and knocking or doing the note, do you ever consider knocking?
No, but I have actually walked directly up to people recently. Because where I'm from, having conversations with people, like I told you, I lived in a turtle shell for such a long time that I'm really trying to break that. And so I was actually honored that Rick and Zach even thought of me to speak today. And at first, my first instinct was, I probably shouldn't do that. And then my second instinct was, man, I wouldn't be where I am without these guys. And anything that they ask me to do, I'm going to do it. So I've made it a point that if somebody's outside and the house looks run down, I just walk up and say, hey, look, are you looking to sell that? Have you thought about selling it? They tell me yes, tell me no. I give them a sticky note and I tell them to call me. So I've probably done 5 or 10 of those over the last month where I just walk straight up to people. Yes, sir.
So you were mentioning the seven levels deep of your why.
Yes.
How often do you practice
About every month or two I do that. I do it frequently. And then once you get your why, once you get to the very, very deep root cause of your why, you never forget it. You just think about it the entire time, which is why earlier I said I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I want to create such a safety net that there's really never anything to worry about. Like, I've got all these deals, but I'm trying to get, legacy is very important to me. Rick and Zach helped me plant my family tree, but it's very important that I grow that into a beautiful tree and not a tiny little runt of a tree. So I think about my why constantly. I wear it on my sleeve. Yes, sir.
How do you keep track of your followers?
So I'm a big football guy, love football. And I've got a playbook that I drew, that I wrote, and it's giant, and it's on my desk. And it's got the names, the addresses, the ARVs, and then it's got the dates that I followed up with all these people. And every time I follow up, I mark it that I followed up with them this week, and then I follow up with them every 30 days most of the time. Some people I follow up with every week, but that's just the people that have the most motivation in my estimation. But every 30 days is typically when I go back over that playbook. I tried Podio, and I hated it. I hated it so much. So I just drew up a playbook. Yes, sir.
What about a deal machine? Do you have a?
I've never used it. I've heard good things about it, but I've never used it. Yes?
So you do your deals without deal machine?
What's that?
I say, so you do your deals without deal?
Yeah, I've never used Deal Machine.
So you drive or you walk?
I walk. Yeah. What's that?
I say you be slow.
I ain't stopping, man. I tell people I gotta. A grind won't stop, a hustle won't quit. That's my mantra. Anybody? Yes.
Okay, so when people say they're not interested, for me, I put them in the not interested bucket and I just don't have to call them again.
Yeah.
So when someone says, they're not interested, then you put them in a bucket, call them back in 6 months?
So it depends. If the house looked like there was some motivation to it when I walked by it, I'll walk by it again in about 30 to 60 days. I'll walk by it and I'll put another sticky note. And if they still continue to tell me no, but I see that there's obvious motivation, like if the house is falling apart very slowly, then I know that I'm just going to continue to follow up with them every 30 to 60 days no matter what they tell me. But if the grass is like an inch taller than the neighbors and they're like, nah, it's not really worth following up on, I don't think. Sticky note or call them. At that point, they call me and they say no, but I'd walk back by it and it looks like it's still in the same condition or worse condition, then I'll either text them, call them, or I'll put another sticky note on there.
I'm just thinking if they just call you, you don't know what address they call from.
Yeah, so when they call me,
They're not interested.
yeah, when they call me, I use True People Search, and it's not where you can search by phone number, and I put that phone number in there, and it'll tell me the address of the person. So that way, and then if it's one that's really motivated, I take a snapshot on my phone of batch leads, and when I get home, I put that on my batch leads. Yes?
Have you ever found a property that was like vacant and both of the owners are dead?
Yeah, it's really tough. It can be, sometimes I try to deal with stuff like that, and at the same time, I try to make sure I don't let that kind of stuff absorb me, because there's so many opportunities that, like, you could just be wasting your time spinning your wheels and never really get anywhere. Like, I might mess with some of those kind of properties if I've already got a property or two under contract. Then I might be like, all right, what are these complicated properties? I might try to work those as I've already got stuff set to close, so that I know I'm getting paid no matter what. And if I'm able to get that complicated property at the same time, it's just added, Yes?
Any idea on the percentage of the basket traces you have using batch leads?
So I don't really skip trace. I used to. When I first started, I had Batch Dialer, and I skip traced through batch leads, PropStream, True People Search, and cyber background checks. And PropStream is terrible for skip tracing. in my experience. Batch leads isn't much better, and True People Search is kind of like 80% is wrong, 20% you might be all right, and cyber background checks is so similar to True People Search that I really don't see a difference between the two. Cyber, what is it? Like I said, I don't really skip trace people. If there's a property that I upload to batch leads, then I'll typically use True People Search to do it because, I mean, you're either paying for 50% or you're doing it free for 20%, and I'd rather just do it free for 20% accuracy. So I don't do it a lot. Yes?
When you were hiring your people, did you go through a different network, or how did you find the people that you?
I posted in Facebook, like in Facebook groups for the cities that I'm looking to hire people in. Just, hey, we're paying $20 an hour, and I put like a little resume, like cover letter on there, just like a description of the job, basically. And they'll email me resumes, and I've gotten like 10 applicants. And I've interviewed all these people, but either I really suck at hiring, which could be, it really could be. I've passed up on some realtors that I really thought very fondly of, but I'm like, I don't know, a realtor could just try to steal your deal. Like, I don't know if I want to do that. I had a really good feeling about one of those women. Thought she'd be a really good employee, but I passed on her because she's a realtor. So I think I need to work on that a lot.
And the day that you did hire, you had just gave him all your stuff to put on the houses?
Yeah.
Whenever you virtual was, I'm just thinking how you.
Yeah, so I had a stamp for him, and I sent him like 350 sticky notes, and I gave him an ink pad, and so he just stamped them, but he only did 6. So, I mean, it didn't really work very well. Because when he goes up to the houses, he's supposed to take a picture of the sticky note and then also save it to batch leads. So on every property he goes to, he saves it to batch leads and sends me a picture. Yes?
Yeah, I'm just curious how quickly you moved from writing by hand to the stamp.
Not very quickly. I should have done it way sooner. Let's see, I started really reverse driving for dollars in April or May. And up until like last month, ask Roger, he'll tell you, up until like last month, I never even had a stamp.
Gotcha.
So, yes, sir.
It's more of a comment, but I was gonna say, man, hats off to you, bro. 'Cause, I started in a small market, like how you're saying. And, smaller markets is more. It's a lot harder if you don't know what you're doing starting out. So like everything that you're doing, first drop of dollars, definitely.
Yeah, I appreciate you. All I do is just look on Zillow, and if houses have been flipped there in the last year, then you know that there are people that are looking to buy houses there.
I actually got a guy because in one of my markets, he puts out all of my van signs. He's a college student there, so like I'm probably gonna like hire him to like looking to hire him to do like reverse driving for dollars up there. So that was really good.
Okay. Yes, sir.
How do you see yourself? You kind of created a marketing machine, right? With driving for dollars, really. How do you see, and being in a small market like you are, how do you see yourself scaling it to where, okay, now I can expand from here?
Yeah, ideally.
You're not cold calling, you're not texting.
Yeah. Ideally, I'd love to have like 3 or 4 people reverse drive for dollars for me, like really good people that are doing like 300 plus a week.
Yeah.
Get 3 or 4 of those, and then get a VA who answers the phone when those calls come in, just to vet them, just say, hey, are you interested in selling it, yes or no? If they say yes, then it comes straight to me, and I deal with the rest. That's where I would like to get to.
And then like expand like the map, maybe like.
Yeah, yep, just open up to more cities, more towns.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Did you say you got your stamp from?
Etsy, yes.
Do you do filters from batch leads to upload to do the reverse driving for dollars?
I don't. I do pull government lists every now and then, and go like code violations and go put those on.
How do you determine which neighborhoods you're gonna go?
I honestly just park my car and I get out and walk. And I remember, like, my memory's pretty good with my map. Like, I know what streets I've already been on and stuff. And the towns are small, so it's not really easy to like go. It'd be different if it was like Columbus, and I'm like in the middle of Columbus, Ohio. Like, I'd probably waste a lot of time doing that, but I focus on those smaller markets so I know where I'm at, where I've already been. Sometimes, but I don't go on country roads. I go like inside the town, so not really. Yes.
What's the benefit to the walking instead of driving, stopping, driving, stopping?
Did I tell you that I'm a guy that kind of like makes sure that I put my fist through the pavement, because otherwise I'm right. Like if I'm not doing the work, then I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Like I probably should get a hoverboard, and I might get a hoverboard. Probably be faster. I also thought about putting a weed eater motor on a bicycle and just.
I told him an e-bike 3 times.
All right. Anybody else? We good? Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, Rick.
Michelle's back there.
Did she hear me?
Oh, he did. Oh, okay. I missed it. Okay.
Hey, do you need this?
So guys, real quick, the point of Jason is, and the questions are amazing, because by you guys asking questions, because you're going through the journey, I want you to understand, Jason figured out just to do it and stop over analyzing it. The first 2 years, I never used a CRM. I used a notepad. This is long before Google, before social media. I'm just telling you, everything's a tool. A CRM just helps. It will never close someone for you. AI will phenomenally help you, but it's never going to replace you. So you've got to understand it's the actions he takes. The one thing, he's amazing at reverse driving for dollars, so pick his brain on it. That's what you want to do. He is still in the journey. Now he's trying to figure out how to scale his business. He hasn't even scraped the iceberg. When I take him out of his business and show him how to scale it, he gets to go through the fun part of how do I recruit employees? How do I retain employees? How do I pay employees? How do I get the best bang for it? And that's the next journey. But the reality is we have to get people started, okay? So many guys are buying into programs trying to figure out how to run 8, 9 employees when you don't even know how to manage yourself. I tried to manage employees with ADHD. It was brutal. I either fired you fast or I kept you too long. And so you guys kind of know where you're at. It just takes time to figure out how to do it, because we are control freaks as wholesalers. It's great when you start out, but then you have to learn how to kind of unwind it a little bit. But here's the reality is, you got to make sure your family's taken care of, your bills are taken care of, and you get some of your time back, because money will buy you time back. Okay, it's not going to fix your problems, it's not going to make you happy, but it can help out mom, it can help out dad. I said, Jason, I go, you got to get your butt down here. He goes, when's the event? And the dude just hopped on a plane, and then when did he reach out to? He reached out to me on the DM. He goes, hey, I'm here in Sturt. I'm like, what day was that? Tuesday. I go, dude, you're like 2 days. He's like, what? But that, I want you to understand, that's what he does. He just goes. Who? Yeah, that's what he does. I said, we'll do a deal, we'll split together. I'm just telling you, I want you to understand the personality trait. You have to do it. You guys overanalyze everything. I was the worst about it. Just go, stop. Lose your ego, check it at the door, and just do the work. Because this is actually a simple business. We just complicate it. We're ridiculous as humans. I used to get so good at wholesaling, I would just stop doing it. I just like, and then I'd get lost, and I'm like, you gotta just keep going, okay? Because there's always another level to this. If you think this is like just getting you started, getting out of the matrix, you gotta get, if you don't get past that, you can't do the rest of it. That's why me and Zach is just focus on the basics. Because too many of you guys are trying to figure out how to hire and fire like 10 VAs when you don't even know how to do it yourself. Honestly, if you don't have deals under your belt and you want to do cold calling and you want to outsource it before you ever did it, you're going to be in a world of hurt, because these people will take your money out there all day long. This kid used to sit at the dinner table and cold call. He sat all in college and cold call. And when you guys ask how many cold calls are you going to get a deal, really bad question. What are you willing to do? He talks about his why. We're going to go into that today. You've got to have it like a ridiculous why to do this. And you know what? It's so funny. It's like, I have a commercial building. People walk up. There's a no solicitation sign. When people come up and approach me, I go like this. There's no solicitation. Guy goes, here. I get 1 or 2 people. They go, okay, sorry. And that guy goes, yeah, I saw it. You got to be that guy or gal. Like, stop. Everyone's so numb to like solicitation. If you're just going to follow orders from everyone else, you're going to get the exact same result. So stop, just take a risk out there. Jason goes out and talks to people. I don't care if he gets on foot, car, e-bike, whatever he does. You guys just look what he does. How do you do it? He doesn't care about a CRM. He doesn't care about this. And he's going to find other. He has found his niche. Once he runs with that niche, put 100 grand in your bank account, let's go to the next phase. But I got to get you there. So many of you guys are trying to make $1 million before you made your first 100,000, and that's the problem with it. It's hard. The first 100K is painful, but once you get it, then you're going to have bumps along the way, and then you got to figure out how to scale it. And that's why we set this up. First deal, 100K, and then if you guys want to do deals with me and Zach, let's go. Because if you're like a trained assassin in wholesaling, I have this addiction. I want to do business with you. But it takes special people to do that. And you all have it if you're in this room. You are no different than Jason. I'm no different than Jason. I took the same thing. I was just walking around on like Earth Matrix. I'm like, where the hell am I supposed to be today? What does my boss want? Okay. You want to make 100 grand, you'll make 100 grand. That's just a scrape of the iceberg. Okay? He figured out why he was in high school to make 100 grand. I'm just like, man, if I can teach a 16, 17-year-old kid, what can I do? And let me tell you what, trying to teach your own family and your kids, it's harder. It's harder. Okay? I have people ask me all the time, how do you get your kids involved? Show them. Don't tell them, show them. How do you do it? You spend time with them. It's never about money. All I ever wanted with my parents was time. And you guys can appreciate it. And so I had a lot of mistakes in my life. I move forward. I make mistakes. I'm human too. I just want you to understand Jason's journey, man. I love it, man, because he'll go through a brick wall. And now he'll listen to me going forward. But he took a leap of faith, which is the hardest thing. And some of you guys just question everything. I did the exact same thing. I go, it's got to be harder than this. I go, no, you just got to talk to people. If you're scared to talk to people, this is going to be rough. And you are not a car salesman. You're not a salesman, okay? You are not salesman. You just qualify people, and you're a guide. So if you ever had a guide or do anything like that, that's all I do. I'm not here to sell someone 200 cars. To me, that's torture. And I tell you what my specialty is. He is the cold call specialist. You know why? I said, I don't cold call. You're diving in this business. So you guys, for 2 years, I made him do every piece in my business. And if you ever watch your kids, like, guys, you got to understand, you got to stop doing everything for your kids. You got to put them out there. You got to let them fail. You got to let them learn how life works, how money works, how relationships work. How do you do it? If you can't lead by example, do not tell your kids how to do it. We tell kids all the time, you really shouldn't drink. You know, you're 16, 17, and mom and dad are just sitting there in front of them drinking. Like, they watch what you do, and that's what you'll understand. So a big round for Jason. He's amazing.
So all you gotta do is get Jason's number, and he can schedule a call with his team, and he'll get you on a nice call. Now, guys, the point is, he's speaking from the heart. The way that we want him on here is, yeah, he learned from us, but he took it and he kind of put his own thing on it, and he made success. So I think if he did exactly what we told him to do, he probably wouldn't exactly. He kind of put his own spin to it, but that's what works for him.